Well, if people can't go to theaters, then streaming is the big thing, right? The films that have done well are the things that have films that have gone straight to streaming, and there have been some that have done that haven't done well, but that's because they weren't that good, right? And I don't think they would have done well in theaters anyway in a regular time. But a lot of films, take for example the new Mulan, that film gained a lot of steam because it was, first of all, one of the only big releases coming out, and secondly, the way Disney handled it, where it went straight to streaming, but you had to pay a premiere access fee. But it was still less, at least in my case, it cost less to pay the premiere access fee and watch the film at home with my family than it would have cost to take my family to the theater to see it. So I would say it's a balance of what viewing habits are, like what people can do reasonably in a given situation, and what technology is available. Right? I think it would have been a mistake to release that film just in theaters right now.
For nearly an entire decade, we have seen more growth in the film industry than we have ever seen before. Superhero movies raked in billions in the box office. More and more films were being made each year, and independent filmmakers experienced a larger audience than ever before. New concepts and filmmaking ideas changed the way we look at cinema forever. Theaters were making millions after millions of dollars in revenue, as casual moviegoers and critics alike were flocking to the cinemas. All of that changed in March 2020. The pandemic that had begun in December of the previous year was threatening the entire world.
With the outbreak of a mystery virus in China that now has the World Health Organization on edge. At least 4 people have died and hundreds more are sick, though there are concerns.
World leaders were forced to enforce lockdown on citizens and businesses, and the world would not be the same since. On Friday, March 13th, the United States government declared a national state of emergency. Schools, theaters, and other private businesses were shut down in the following weeks. On March 17th, Regal Cinemas closed their doors to the public indefinitely. The same day, the largest theater chain in the world, AMC Theaters, announced the nationwide closure of the chain for at least the following 6 to 12 weeks. They would not reopen for over 22. On March 19th, Disney and Universal Studios announced that they would no longer report the box office earnings of their films. The film industry hadn't seen a lower weekend earning in the US since 1998. The economic climate was in shambles, and they knew it. However, this is not the end for gigantic mega film corporations with billions of dollars at their disposal. Instead, it merely marked a milestone in a change that had been progressing for years. Ever since the start of Netflix, or at least the online streaming version of Netflix, companies have been jumping on the streaming boat like stowaways of the film industry. This brought about the rise of streaming services like Hulu or Amazon Prime Video. However, the 2 most prominent streaming services during lockdown weren't even created until the midst of the pandemic arrived. Disney Plus was launched on November 12, 2019, just over a month before the new coronavirus variant began to spread. It started off small, with a launch date subscriber base of only 10 million people. At the moment, it is sitting at a staggering 100 million subscribers. For reference, it took Netflix 10 years to reach this goal. Disney has done it in just over 1. At $8 a month, plus the small amount of services and goods that weren't negatively impacted by COVID, Disney made $16.5 billion in 2020. That is an enormous achievement during a global pandemic, even for a company as prominent and gigantic as Disney. However, it is not easy to compare Disney Plus with other services. For one, Disney already had the reputation and all the movies they needed to start a streaming service of their own, as they've been releasing feature films since 1937. Services like Netflix or Hulu had to reach deals with production companies to stream other people's films, at least in the beginning. Secondly, they just happened to launch their platform only months before people would be stuck in their homes for weeks, with nothing to do besides feed themselves entertainment in any way they could. Either a fantastic coincidence or something much darker is at play. However, I digress. Furthermore, while $16.25 billion sounds like a lot of money, which it is, total revenue for Walt Disney Productions was down by over 20% from the previous year. That number also doesn't account for the 223,000 people employed by the company, nor the sheer production cost of any of Disney's thousands of services, goods, or other operations. While they did surpass market expectations, they also didn't exactly see an increase in profit either. On May 27, 2020, a new contender joined the battle for the television screens across the globe. HBO Max was launched to the public and has since amassed around 50 million subscribers to the platform. It has now become a hotspot for many movies that had planned a theater release. Releases like Wonder Woman 1984 and Zack Snyder's Justice League have helped catapult their subscriber count and thus their revenue. However, people inside the industry are upset that Warner Brothers, the largest film studio in history, has seemingly dumped their content onto the platform. A very outspoken critic of Warner's decision has even gone so far to call HBO Max the worst streaming service, and describes how it makes no economic sense. That person is none other than Christopher Nolan, one of the largest film directors of the 21st century thus far. No, not that 21st century. Though it would seem that Warner Brothers and others have become confident in their new business model, as Christopher Nolan's new blockbuster title Tenet will be debuting on HBO Max on May 1st. Attitudes towards streaming are changing, both within and outside the industry itself, and the world is growing to be much more streaming service friendly. Streaming services that have only just begun are exploding onto the market, and even more are jumping on the bandwagon. It's safe to say now that video streaming has taken a significant hold on the film and television market, one that it may never let go of. More and more people are getting used to being able to stream basically any movie they want from the comfort of their own homes. And as such, I believe we will see a drastic decrease in the revenue of theaters across the United States and the globe, as well as a decrease in moviegoers and thus less people who appreciate the cinema experience. A survey by MarketWatch.com estimates that around 70% of people would rather stay home to watch films even after COVID restrictions end. There isn't much recovery from an entire industry being slashed in half overnight, and the shift in the way we experience visual storytelling has and will continue to affect the industry for better or worse for years to come. As cinemas reopen, we still aren't seeing much of an increase in foot traffic through theaters. AMC Theaters is at 99% reopened at the time of writing, and as of March 14, 2021, theater chains are only expected to return to the revenue they were pulling in prior to the release of Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1982. It looks like it might be a very long while before cinemas truly recover, if they ever do. Movie theaters simply can't keep up with the convenience of watching a film in the comfort of your own home. However, before you decide to press play on that new concurrent release, think about the impact cinema has had and the true meaning of the theater experience. Try going out and seeing a film in cinemas when this is all over, and reflect on the real nature of what cinema truly is. I think my school's film teacher put it best.
So I love the movie theater experience. I think it's a huge part of our cultural history, and it's something that I wish we could preserve better than we have. When they tore down the Cinedome in Riverdale, I was angry about it, like legitimately angry, especially because they just put up a car dealership. Yeah. But like the public experience of cinema is a treasured part of our heritage, and the ability to go and be with strangers but connect with them over a piece of art like that. There's not very many things left that let us do that. And the pandemic has robbed us of that experience even more, and it's my firmest hope for the movie industry that we get that back. But I'm afraid that we might not get it back to the same extent that we had it before.